Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadi Tamastu Ma Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. And we'll share the screen. There we go. January 12th. Our first topic, waves of distress, practical and spiritual response to the devastating Asian tsunami of 2004. So that's a long time ago, 20 years ago, so parts of it will seem kind of old, but the basic point is it brings up the principles of how to face any major disaster, be it a global disaster, a national disaster, or even a large family disaster. Brings up the different steps that we should go through in responding to it. And that's what this slide says. Over the last few weeks, I've been asked by numerous, this is of course 2005, over the last few weeks, I have been asked by numerous individuals to share some thoughts on the massive global death and destruction caused by the South Asian tsunami that ravaged such a vast part of the world in the last days of 2004. Huge waves in some places, 100 feet high, the waves were in some places. So the question to you, what is a good first response? Do we say, well, that's their karma and go on with life, for example? That could be the response of some people. But what's a good first response? First and foremost response, of course, is the need to awaken our compassion and offer our prayerful thoughts to those who have passed on and give expression inwardly and outwardly to our deep felt sympathy for the relatives and friends who survived. This is our response from the heart. So compassion, basically to express compassion, positive emotion, sympathy. That's a good first response. What is a good second response? The natural second response is to provide practical help as millions face the challenges of the aftermath of this awesome natural catastrophe, the worst in our lifetime. I have noticed a remarkable welling up of such support among devotees of our monastery and the general public in many countries, and seen people go to extraordinary lengths to collect medical supplies, raise funds at work, and even offer to fly to the affected areas to provide succor with their own hands. These are life-saving, life-affirming reactions, for without the generous financial and in-kind donations that reach the affected areas, many more could die in the weeks ahead for lack of food, clean water, medical supplies, and temporary shelter. This is how we respond with our hands. The first one was from the heart, second one is from the hands. What is a good medium-term response? So after we do those two, shown our compassion and sympathy, we've helped to provide food, shelter, water, medical help. What would be next? In the medium term, communities need to be rebuilt and resources provided to individuals to enable them to resume supporting themselves through their chosen occupation. And what is a good long-term response to the last one? For the longer term, governments need to ponder the issues of providing effective warning systems, such as currently exist in the countries in the Pacific Ocean region, to protect their populations against future tsunamis, and to better prepare them for any large-scale disaster, whether from earthquakes, storms, droughts, or other threats to security. On all levels, we need to learn from this experience so we face our next massive threat more prepared. This is our response from the head. On the philosophical level, major disasters in the world cause everyone to stop and think. Think about ourselves, our family, friends, community, nation, and the world itself. If our faith is not strong, our thoughts can be of a negative nature. You've heard people wondering about why God would allow such a thing to happen, why good people are suffering so, how can there even be a God if such tragedy can occur on earth? However, if our faith is strong, then our recollections and reactions remain positive. A good question here. What is the Hindu philosophical point of view of major natural disasters? Is God punishing us? From the Hindu point of view, questions of blame and punishment do not arise. God does not punish, does not visit terrible things upon the earth. It is, after all, his creation. He did give the natural forces on this earth immense power, yet even these are forces of change and evolution. For Hindus, the most terrific of disasters is not some cosmic chastisement, but the rightful unfolding of Dharma and destiny. For the devout Hindu, loss and even death, while difficult, are not beyond our ability to accept. After all, our soul is eternal, and through its many lives on earth undergoes a variety of experiences, many joyful, others sorrowful. But it benefits spiritually from all experience, whether seemingly good or bad. However, as Gurudeva said, because the fear of death is so much a part of our social consciousness today, as ignorance prevails in these matters, sorrow rather than joy is often experienced. In not understanding life and its fullness, many cannot help but misunderstand death. The attitude should be one of joy based on beliefs that come from the knowledge of karma and samsara. Experience of joy and a total release of the loved one would come from a pure understanding of the processes of life. Better word than death is transition, passing into a new form of life. Life into life. Yogaswami, many years ago, foresaw the difficult times the peoples of his country have faced for the past 2 decades of civil war and the loss of 60,000 lives. Now his nation has suffered in one day, December 6th, the loss of over 30,000 lives, with 1 million, fully 5% of the nation left homeless. This great sage counseled how to cope with such horrific situations in his Nachintana hymn, Naloran Tiruvadi. Even if war and famine come and the world is burnt to ashes, shall we know any fear, O parrot? Arumugam is our refuge. In other verses, Yogaswami stresses that the Atma, our soul, is eternal, that Lord Murugan is our protection. Clinging to his holy feet will cause all distress and anguish to disappear. Yogaswami's sagely advice is clear. Difficulties are a part of life on this planet, and the sorrow they bring can be overcome through the worship of God and the gods. It's a nice picture. In these times, we find solace in the words of the illumined Satgurus, whose vision is wider and deeper than our own. Pramukh Swami Maharaj of BAPS counseled his followers in the aftermath of the 2001 Gujarat earthquake. Natural calamities like earthquakes have been affecting mankind since time immemorial. It is a natural phenomenon like rain. It is not the wrath of God. So whatever has to happen, happens. The good and the painful are all part of life, and we should accept both with equanimity. It is a natural phenomenon. Oh, sorry. To repeat. Okay. Okay, look at all slides again. Fix that for tomorrow. So, what I like to say is the Earth's a dangerous place. To take that into account. Don't build a house on the sand in a tsunami area. Don't build a house on an earthquake fault. No, it's a dangerous place. The Earth has these massive forces that cause earthquakes and tsunamis. It's natural. It's adjusting the plates of the Earth in those examples. So we need to take that into account in terms of how we view life and where we live. Those with strong faith when confronting a major disaster, such as the recent tsunami, have the ability to step back from life's daily routine and look more deeply at themselves to see if there are changes they could make to add deeper meaning to their life. The physical and psychic power of this tsunami offers such thoughtful people an opportunity to examine and change their own lives. For life-changing moments are rare and often provoked by something bigger than our day-to-day existence. So we can get a bit philosophical about our life after all of the above responses have happened. What are some of the changes a person could make to add deeper meaning to his or her life? Perhaps there are changes we have been considering for years, but always end up putting off. Perhaps there are new patterns of life, new habits, new commitments that can take root at this rare moment in our personal and global history. Perhaps our love of family members needs to be verbalized more often. Now is the moment to begin. That's a regret you see in life and in movies. Someone is about to pass on and they regret they didn't express their love more often. Perhaps we have plans to improve our community. Now is the time to set these plans in motion. Perhaps we always wanted to deepen our spiritual efforts and expand our charitable work. Now is the time to make such ideals real. In all these ways, we can take the energy surrounding this historic catastrophe, transmute it into something that benefits our lives and our community, rather than diminishes them. Adversity faced with courage and wisdom can bring us one step closer to the source of all. As Gurudeva would often say, it matters less what happens to you in life than how you react to all that happens. In the aftermath of the tsunami, the Western media sought to understand how people of different faiths look upon such disasters. They were trying to be helpful and they were fair to the Buddhists, Muslims, and Christians. But when it came to explaining the Hindu response, Newsweek magazine wrote on January 10th that the Hindu gods are ambivalent and capricious, that the ocean itself is a terrible god who eats people in boats. Ooh, imagine that got published. It is, of course, painful for Hindus to read such misconstrued supposition in the international media, especially as we know how deep is the Vedic perspective on suffering, death, and dying. Hindus need to respond, to educate the media and provoke them toward a truer perception of Hinduism. That means writing letters informing them that Hindus know there is a purpose in all things in life, not just the good things. We know that God is not vengeful or capricious, but an all-knowing, all-loving, all-powerful Father, Mother, Creator, whose grace is present in our lives each day and whose blessings are palpably felt by those of awakened sensitivity. As Gurudeva wrote, there is a divine purpose even in the existence of suffering in the world. Suffering cannot be totally avoided. It is a natural part of human life and the impetus for much spiritual growth for the soul. Knowing this, the wise accept suffering from any source, be it hurricanes, earthquakes, floods, famine, wars, disease, or inexplicable tragedies. So also does suffering offer us the important realization that true happiness and freedom cannot be found in the world, for earthly joy is inextricably bound to sorrow, and worldly freedom to bondage. The great Hindu saints all teach us that even harsh karma, when faced in wisdom, can be a catalyst for spiritual advancement. No one welcomes suffering into their lives, but when it comes, we can choose to how we respond. We can allow it to diminish our life or to strengthen and deepen it. That power lies in each one's hands. We see such resolve in the faces of those who lost loved ones and yet set about the enormous task of rebuilding their lives. We see it in the global outpouring of compassion and help, a love and shared sympathy that brought the world together for a moment in time, that transcended race and geography, religion and history. While 2004 saw the greatest natural disaster in memory, 2005 is unfolding history's greatest outpouring of compassion and help. The world does seem a little less divided now as we reach out to one another in 1,000 ways. Moving Story provides a glimpse into the human spirit and the possibility of enormous good flooding out from this calamity. On January 13th, National Public Radio reported on the experience of a Los Angeles fireman who was in Sri Lanka helping in the initial relief efforts. He was used to human loss, that being part of a fireman's daily experience, but this was different. The fireman shared that a Sri Lankan man approached him amid all of the debris and chaos. He had just lost his entire family and most of his home, yet that victim greeted him with a smile and offered the fireman a cup of tea. The fireman was deeply struck by this, his first person-to-person encounter with an Easterner. He wondered how a man who suddenly had nothing and must certainly have been filled with sadness and loneliness was offering his rescuers tea, thinking more of them than of himself. Took it as a sign of the resilience of the human spirit and of the East's unique reply to loss and its special capacity to endure. Nice story. And our second topic, 64 character qualities from our workbook. And initiative is the 32nd character quality. How would you define initiative? The workbook gives this definition. Initiative is the ability to think and act without being urged or instructed. I cultivate initiative by looking for and responding to needs without being asked. The opposite is passivity. And Gurudeva's quotes, try to have a positive plan incorporating meditation daily as a lifestyle within that goal. Through this positive initiative and daily effort in meditation, awareness is centered within. We learn how to disentangle and unexternalize awareness. As soon as strong initiative is taken to change our nature toward refinement, a new inner process begins to take place. Children are mentally carried along by television stories through positive and negative states of mind. They become uncreative, passive, inactive, never learning to use their own minds. So that's too much television. Reflection. Take a moment to identify a few ways in which you could improve in initiative. Third topic, quotes from Yogaswami's words of our master. If I wish my friend well, he will actually be benefited. Diseases are cured by sound. Swami Manakudi knew only one decade, 10 verses, from Devaram. Because he concentrated with faith on that, he was able to cure many diseases through that Devaram alone. What does that mean to you? My thought on this, our thoughts affect the people we are thinking about. Positive thoughts are helpful to them, help them succeed, and negative thoughts are harmful to them and make it harder for them to succeed. This is why we need to practice ahimsa, even with our thoughts. Second idea is that certain sounds have a healing effect. Next quote. This world is a training college. Some are in the kindergarten, some are in the BA class. Surely those in the BA class will never look down upon those in the kindergarten. What does that mean to you? Kindergarten and a BA class is the same idea as when Gurudeva says young souls and old souls. Our attitude should always be to help others, not to criticize them for being a young soul. I'm thinking of a phrase here. So we want to always encourage rather than criticize. And the last quote. Because God is with us, we see, we hear, we talk, and do everything. The scientists say that even plants talk. What does that mean to you? This is the idea that God is the life of our life, and Tamo Uyur Kuyir, meaning that it is the spiritual energy in us, and without it, the physical energy would not survive. So if the soul isn't in the body doesn't have life. So the energy comes from God, so to speak. Thank you very much. Oh.